everybody. We're back with another edition of Casey Music Talk. I am here this week with a piano player, musician, writer, and band leader, Chris Lewis. How you doing, man?
Rob, it's a pleasure. Love this place.
Thanks, man.
Love your show.
Oh, thanks. You and I have known each other for a couple years now, and we got the first of all, when I first got into town, it was nice. What was your guys' band again?
Killer Strayhorn.
Killer Strayhorn, that's right, yeah. And I went and saw you guys a couple of times, and you were nice enough to come, or when I went up and came and talked, you were really nice to kind of give advice and talk about music and stuff, so I wanted to kind of publicly thank you for that.
Well, I was immediately impressed with just your confidence level, the way you could just stand there in the middle of a room and play the violin solo, and I just liked your stage presence, your confidence. I could just tell you were engaged and immersed, and I saw this he's going to make his mark somewhere, somehow, pretty soon.
Thanks, man.
That was my
Thanks.
impression.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we, after knowing you a little bit, we played a couple of duo gigs here and there, and then we ended up playing in the Dudes a little bit. It was a kind of a silly band, but I really enjoyed playing it. What was your take on that?
The Dudes was a one-of-a-kind band. I admired the fact that, you were going to do it your way. You had your tunes, your bag of tricks. I thought violin as a frontman was way cool.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you see that? I was just, some of the music was over my head because, I don't normally play in odd time meters, and, you'd come in fresh out of school. You had the composer's hat on, and, and your sidemen were pretty dang good musicians.
Mm-hmm.
You had a great drummer and other people in and out of the band, but it was hard to know where we fit in, and that's good and bad. You had your own unique sound, but it is hard to find where you fit in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who is halfway creative has a hard time with that, because really the marketplace isn't about music, in my view. It's really, it's about people coming in the door, buying food, buying drinks, maybe dancing, and fitting an art. I would call your music art music. Fitting that into that, sometimes it doesn't always mesh.
Yeah, and I definitely want to talk about this here in a minute, but it was definitely that fine line that we always have between being our artist self and knowing that we want to do something really unique and cool, but then not being over everybody's head, and we kind of weren't really jazz, so Jardines didn't really want us, and then didn't know what to do with us, and then we'd go to a rock bar and they wouldn't really know what to do with us either, because we weren't really rock either. We were like I don't know what we were, but we weren't really either one of those, so that was just kind of a weird band, but I was really glad that you were able to play in that and contribute a little bit.
Yeah, I was glad to be there. Gave it my all, but I always wish I could have done better. That's just a typical musician thing. I always wish I could have played a little better. Yeah, well,
I think you did great, man.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think is really cool about you, that I think you and I bonded over a lot, is writing.
Yeah.
And I know, so tell everybody a little bit about your, like first of all, what are some of the finished things that you've done, because you've had a couple albums, right?
Yeah, Killer. Just call him Killer for short. David Bassie nicknamed me Killer. It's kind of funny. David Bassie did kind of put us on the map initially. He produced our first record. We ended up with 3 CDs, and I think that's pretty good for a band that hardly ever worked. And that was the frustrating thing was, you're going to sound better on your record when you've been working a lot.
Yes.
If you're just kind of sporadically throwing it together every 30 or 40 days, it's just not quite to the level that you would like. But still, I think a lot of good happened. You have to focus on the good that happens. But as far as me being a composer, it probably started really as just being an arranger. One day I just got the idea, what would happen if I just did what I literally just want to do? Because I've been in a million bands over the years. I used to play the horns, and I've done this and that and the other, clear back to Wichita in the 70s. The point is, I played a lot of bad music, a lot of what I would call crap, and we all have it. One day I just thought, what would happen if I just did what I felt like was the best set list I could do? And then don't even let money enter into it. Literally just fund the whole thing. Work as much as I need to work on the side to get enough money to bankroll it, And so, you know, I just started this group, and you know, I was kind of forced in the role of arranger, you know, because somebody's got to do the hard work, you know, because some of the sidemen, you know, they got a million other bands they're in, so I kind of had to just start writing. And I look at, you know, arranging as kind of composing. I mean, it really is. It's kind of, maybe it's not a full-blown year piece, but you're still sort of writing. And then that led to composing, and composing leads to arranging. They go back and forth, but really at the end of the day, it's all the same. You get ideas, you get inspiration, and one way or another it gets on paper. Maybe it takes an hour, maybe it takes a year. Sometimes you have a kernel of an idea that just sits around, sitting on a piece of paper. It just sits there, and you know, months and maybe years go by, and finally you go, bingo, I'm going to put that there. You know, and even the classical composers would do that. When they would need a theme, well, okay, I'll just grab that string quartet theme and throw it here and arrange it for voice. And you know, we all do that. We all extrapolate, and it's just a joy to see it. It just kind of happens. And then you look back and you go, when did all that happen? You don't even hardly remember.
How did I get here?
It's almost like an altered state that you go in, you know, just, it is cool. There's no feeling like it on earth to just have this thing that just happened and you don't even remember doing it.
And so that was one thing that I know happened when I made my 2 albums, is you were talking about kind of that time where you either you write it in like 30 minutes, or you have a piece, a riff or a chord progression or something, and then you can feel it in your head that this isn't done or this isn't right or whatever. And I know all the writers have had that moment where it might be like 1:30 in the morning or something, and you've written your little thing, and then you have to kind of make that decision where, am I gonna stay up for another hour and a half and maybe this perfect thing will come to me, or do I put it down and then later it's all, you know, sometimes I think people can have that faith sort of that every time I put it down it always comes back better. That's how I felt usually every time. But isn't that a weird moment where it's like, do I push through right now, or do I put it down, or
I've been there 100 times, and what has always saved me, not that I've messed up many times, but I hate to sound low tech, but I'm kind of an old guy. Little handheld cassette recorders, putting ideas down, because if you walk away with nothing, it is gone forever. You will never even remember the groove or the rhythm. And so when you have something on tape, I love it. It's
and you just have it, and that's super smart.
Yeah.
You know, and we have all sorts of ways we can help with that now, of recording it in your home and like. So that's a really good piece of advice for any writer, because you're like, oh, I'll remember it. No, you won't.
you will not remember it. And a lot of times with me, it's a groove, it's a rhythm. You know. My dentist looks at my teeth and he goes, "What's wrong with your teeth?" I go, "Well, I'm always drumming rhythms, you know." Because they're kind of wearing away.
Right. That's funny. And like, so with writing, like, what was something you've kind of already touched on what you like about, you know, what's the really cool thing about writing is that there's nothing else like it and whatever. What's a tough thing about writing that always kind of gets you?
You know, I think my weakness is just the gruelingly, you know, just notating it. You know, it just takes so much time. Do I really want to waste all this time, or can't I just sing it into a tape recorder? You know, because all the writing of it, you know, because I still do it the old school way with a pencil on paper. You know, the computer's fine, I do that a little, but, you know, just writing rhythms, and it can be a little tedious. You know? And I admire these old-time composers like Stravinsky. They're on an airplane just writing. I'm at the piano. I mean, that's pretty much me, but I'm amazed at these classical composers that can just sit in an airport and write symphonies.
And notate it right there.
I don't know how I don't know how that happens. That's mind blowing.
I think I have that same problem too, because you saw when we played with the dudes, like I didn't really write anything out in notation. I'm really good with like chord charts and stuff, and I wrote all those out, but with the type of people that I had, it probably would have gone just as fast, because anybody that I was hiring for the band can totally read easy, but I'm like, is this gonna go faster with me just play this? If it's one riff in a song,
Yeah.
and then the rest of it is sort of chords, how fast is it gonna be for me in rehearsal just to like play this for 2 seconds by ear, and then he's got it. So
Yeah.
so that and I think the reason why I did that was by necessity, because I'm not good at writing stuff out in notation. I can read it great, but it just, like you said, it just takes forever, man.
Yeah, and you know, one little thing I was occasionally miffed at with my group was, you know, everybody, even years into it, were still just reading.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
and when really we should have, you know, but if we would have worked more, you know, it's a yin and yang. You know, it's partly me, it's partly, you know, if we're working every night, then they're gonna get it. But you know, generally they're just opening it and reading it. And yeah, you can do pretty well doing that. But it's nice, you know, when you look at a band like Yes, there's no chart anywhere.
Yeah.
They just have it just completely immersed in it.
Yeah.
But they're working all over the world, you know, back in the day. So you play better when you just have it just in here, rather than, you know, here.
Yeah, right.
And I think you have better stage presence.
I agree.
You know, when you're sitting there doing this,
Right.
that's just not interesting.
Right.
And in this modern world, you have to be sort of visual.
Yeah, I agree. And you touched on this a minute ago about the whole idea, because I think I look at it sort of like this spectrum of, we have the people that are ridiculously artsy. You know, they are writing and they could not give a crap about what other people think of their writing, and they're gonna, for example, they're gonna write in whatever time signature they want. You know, definitely some of the Stravinskys of the world would fit in that category, I think. And then on the other spectrum, you have the people that are 100% writing because so people will like it, you know. And I know I heard this quote one time that is a very artsy kind of quote, where they were like, it's better to write for yourself and have no public than write for the public and have no self. I was like, ouch. I know, dude, that's an ouch of a quote, right? But my buddy that and I won't mention his name, but he is definitely on this camp over here. You know, he's writing stuff that because again, he looks at it where, what is the good in that of the artsy side when nobody's going to hear it? I'm not going to make any money. Nobody cares about it, you know. So really, he still wants himself to like it. You know, he can't just write it for something he doesn't want to write. But it's a very outward mentality, right? And the artist is very inward, right? And so like, I think you and I are maybe in a similar camp where we're more over here than we are over there. I don't know if I want to put words in your mouth, but that's my perspective. And talk about that a little bit.
Well, you know, one of my heroes is Pat Metheny. I think he bridges that world maybe better than anybody, because he pretty much writes what he wants to write, but somehow it has a humane quality always to it. And, you know, the whole world resonates to it. You know, but, you know, the jazz purist would say, well, it's to this or it's to that. But, you know, the whole world disagrees with you.
You're right.
The whole world gets blown away. They make his music at their wedding.
Right.
I mean, they do. And yeah, plus he hits every style. He just, you know, he is, if anybody doesn't, you know, do this to Pat Metheny, they're crazy. He has made money doing what he's wanted to do, and I don't think he's sitting there going, I want to write something that's popular. He doesn't do that.
Right.
He just writes the music he wants, and it, for some amazingly miraculous reason, it has appeal to many, 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 many people that you wouldn't think it would.
Right.
Somehow he touches that sublime moment within you that's like, yeah, I can relate to that. You know, I may not understand it all, but that moment, wow, you know, they may not get the whole piece, because he has pieces that are 63 minutes long. Of course, they're not going to get the whole piece, but there's going to be moments that, yes, you know, he has that quality. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
How he's done it so long.
Yeah, the pop culture example of that, I would say, is maybe somebody like a Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Right, where they've had many, many radio hits,
Yeah.
you know, but then you go listen to some other stuff. Echoes is a 20-minute tune,
Yeah.
and like it's a full work, Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall, and Wish We're Here, and like, so they do a really good job of making their stuff very jammy and very musical, but also being very like melody driven and tasteful too, you know. And I think that's like, maybe they've kind of hit on a little bit of a key there if you want to try to bridge that gap a little bit, because people are always talking about how you know, bebop is a great example where it's like it is, you know, a very high level kind of musical genre, but unfortunately it closes more clubs than it opens, you know, to the public anyways, about, you know, people just kind of don't, and it's kind of always this line that we have to kind of address at some point in our writing, maybe a little bit, because we can sit there and be just mad. I'm writing these super artsy, super interesting stuff, but nobody cares. And so, you know, what would, like I don't even have an answer. I don't know if there is an answer. It's all you. Is that the answer? Is that you have to choose? I mean, if you, what way you want to go?
You know,
or
I was
what would
thinking
you
about
say?
this today, and you know, maybe this simple. If you need a simple thing to hang your hat on, you make your albums as sophisticated as you want, but on your live show, you know, think about that there's going to be somebody drugged there that doesn't know anything about what you're even doing.
Yeah.
Give him something to hang his hat on. Like one time I opened the Prairie Village Jazz Festival, our band did, and you know, I picked a tune from the country realm called Why Not Me by the Judds, and I arranged it for our band just as kind of a tune, just that somebody who knows nothing about jazz could at least hang their hat on. I know that tune, and by God, at the end of the show, this lady comes up to me and goes, I just love the way you did that Judds tune, you know? This is at a jazz festival.
Yeah, that's
But
cool.
you wouldn't think, well, you can't play that. Yes, you can.
Yeah,
You can play anything with feeling, emotion, and taste. And if you listen to the tune Why Not Me by the Judds, it kicks butt. Whoever wrote that wrote a little gem. And, you know, occasionally I want to think, I'll be thinking about some girl and I'll go, I should just go up to her and go, why not me? But anyway, the point is, you know, I think your live show, you got to think larger than just your own little trip. But on your albums, I think you can, I think that's where you make your statement. But on your live shows, you make it equally about the audience and you. Yeah.
Yeah.
50-50. Meet them halfway. You know, and they'll meet you halfway.
Yeah.
You know?
And the other thing that a thing that always fascinates me is the fact that, like, I'll write this, like, you know, 15-minute instrumental with 5/7 or 5/8 and 7/8 and stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, this is gonna destroy the world. You know, this is the greatest thing ever written. And then I'll go listen to, like, the example I always give is like On the Road Again.
Yeah.
And that's like an example of a geniusly simple song, you know, and it's just awesome. It's perfect. There's nothing you can do that would make it any better, and that really, like, that drives me nuts. You know, how somebody can make a just geniusly simple song. There's also terrible simple, obviously, but
the power of simplicity.
Yeah.
It's unreal. And even Mingus said, you know, the trick is to make the complex sound simple. You know?
Yeah.
You know, simple. You know, at the end of the day, the best tunes are simple.
Yeah.
I heard Angel the other day by Sarah McLachlan. Oh my God. It's just a masterpiece. You know, 15 years later, it just still blows me away.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not just the tune, the arrangement, just what they did with it, just the minimalist approach is just still moves me.
A thing that I tried to do on my album, and I don't know if I did it very well, but is try to take like an 11/8, but then everything else about the song is like pop, right? The lyrics are pop, the chord progressions are pop, the melody is pop. The best example ever of this is Take 5.
Or
You
Money.
know, or Money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who
Money
would've
is
thought
another.
that's insane?
Yeah.
I would have never dreamed that.
Yeah, and like with Take 5, the melody is beautiful. The chords are not weird whatsoever, you know, and the fact that they do that repetitive 5 over and over, about a minute and a half in, that sounds normal.
It does.
You know, it sounds really normal, and you can
It
kind of
does.
feel it, even though it's this weird time. And I think there is a way to bridge these two worlds.
There is a
to
way.
make it kind of artsy, but make it accessible is a good word. You know, make it accessible to regular people. You know.
Yeah, and you know, how you do that is the question. I think you know, Charlie Hayden used to say, to be a great musician, first you have to be a great person. You know, that's where it stems from, because once you're on the road to being a great person, you don't do silly, irrelevant, sort of overly anal stuff anymore. You see, I don't need to be silly. I don't need to, You know, I don't need to be that navel gazing. You know, I need to think bigger here. You know, what is my audience thinking about? You know, what are the times we're living in? You know, Charlie, you know, he hit it out of the park on that one. You know?
that's
First,
a great
be a
quote.
good person,
Yeah.
and then your music will reflect you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sort of like you play how you live, you know. I mean, the same
Yeah.
quote. I mean, how much our emotion and stuff is put into our music, and it really shows what kind of person you are when you play. You know, you can really.
And I think you can be overly sort of in the practice room in college. That's too much. I think you need that. There's a time for that, but at some point you've got to have other interests. You got to travel, relationships. I mean, you got to read history, philosophy, religion, spirituality. All that goes into it.
Yeah.
You know, like when I hear the old Christian hymns, I just hear the reverence.
Yeah.
And it blows me away.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that religious. I don't go to church, but I can hear just the reverence these people had, the belief system they had. You know, and even Chick Corea, he says, back then they weren't going, look at me, look at me, look at me, you know, but now kind of we're all doing the look at me.
Yep.
Back then it wasn't look at me.
Yeah.
It was look at creation.
Yeah,
You know,
wow.
so some heavy concepts.
Yeah, that's deep. You're pretty deep.
I get it from you.
Oh, okay. Right, I've rubbed off. All right. Yeah, so let's switch gears here.
Yeah.
I know one time you and I, when I first got into town, we started talking. We talked a lot about writing, and we also just talked about you know, different moments of being, you know, generally frustrated at musical things that we were frustrated about, and as a lot of musician friends do, you know, you're venting and stuff. But one thing that you were explaining to me that I have no concept about because I wasn't here at the time, but you were talking to me a little bit about gigging in the 90s. Talk in comparison to today. Talk about that.
Well, I came up here from Wichita, and I'd been out of music for a while. I just took I was raising two little ones in Wichita, and so I did come up here, kind of getting back into music, and, you know, didn't take me long to kind of, you know, back then we had the Pitch newspaper, and you put ads in the Pitch. I mean, that's just what you did. This was before all the online stuff.
Right.
So, you know, we'd answer ads and back and forth, and so before you know it, I tried to start a smooth jazz group because I thought that was a happy medium between hardcore jazz and rock. I actually kind of like some of the smooth jazz. Some of it's very tastefully done.
There's some very good smooth jazz players, and they don't get the cred.
Yeah,
I mean, Pat, right? I mean,
Pat,
somebody would say that he's
somebody
smooth
would say
jazz.
he is. I wouldn't, but
I agree.
and he wouldn't.
Right? Yeah.
Because smooth jazz started out kind of cool, but it sort of nosedived really fast, and they really compressed it into 3-chord crap very fast to make money, and then it fizzled and died. You know, once again, they destroyed a beautiful thing, the business aspect. But anyway, you know, pretty soon I'm in a smooth jazz group, and the guy is a booking genius, and we're like everywhere, and we're not even that good. I'm still sort of getting my chops back up, and we did have a good sax player, and, you know, I did some of the writing and pull tunes. I think one of my strengths is just finding good material. I think that's just a gift I've been given. What tune works with these people or this situation? You know, that's just one of my, one of my few talents, but it's one of my ones that keeps coming up. But anyway, it just seems like it was wall-to-wall music in Kansas City in the mid-90s. Just tons and tons of places to play.
Because we keep hearing, at least in the jazz world, about 20s through 40s, you know, was definitely the heyday, and then even 50s a little bit. But then we've heard about over the years, like specifically jazz-wise, of it kind of dying as the years go by. But it sounds like from what I've heard from you and other people, even in the 90s, this was pretty hopping.
This was a hopping town in the 90s. Lots of work. Everybody was working. No one was crying the blues. And like I said, you know, the smooth jazz band I was in, we weren't like mind blowing, but we just kept getting called back. We'd get regular work. You know, it wouldn't be like, well, we'll see you in 90 days. You know, no, it was like you're booked all month. Yeah. So you know, that's cool, and that's what
you mean at the same club? Or?
Well, or at a casino or something.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of casino work then, and that's what kind of miffed me about when I had Killer going. You know, it would just be like a one-off gig, and then, well, we'll see you in 6 months. I'm thinking, could we have a 3-day weekend one time and get comfortable, get our groove on, start building a buzz? But no one would want to hear that. It was just a one-off, and then you're gone. Next. You cannot build a music community that way.
Mm.
But maybe, you know, I don't know what the club owner's goals are, but I would approach it differently. But I'm not sitting in their shoes either.
Yeah.
I think you get a band and you kind of get behind them and build a buzz. Let them move in for a week, you know, and talk them up in the papers and let them get tight, you know, because one-off gigs do nobody any good. If you know what I mean, by a one-off gig.
Yeah.
You come together and then you're not together again for a month.
Yeah,
it's just absurd.
because you've heard. I mean, we've all heard like Ellington had the Savoy or whatever the Cotton Club. Cotton Club. Yeah, and like they had like 6 nights a week. You know, and they would just move in, and then that was their club.
Yeah.
And then they played at that club. But now I think it's different because everybody's so bored. You know, everybody gets bored so easily that they feel like they can't. I'm putting words in their mouth, but maybe they feel like they can't do that with any band. Like name a band that has 5 nights a week at the same place. There isn't one in town, and maybe the reason for that is because they feel like everybody would just get bored too fast. I don't know.
It's possible,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
But still, that doesn't mean that you can't have them back like every week, right? You know, every Friday or so. You know, like Lonnie, for instance, has set gigs, and he's able to do that, and he has a huge following. You know, so.
But the club owner would say, "Well, it's not my job to get a band tight." You know, that's what they would say.
Right, and I agree with that because I don't think it is their job to get the band tight. There might be a whole bunch of other things that is their job that we can get into later. But that's the whole argument is like the bringing people part, right? I would argue that is maybe a mutual deal that you could make a strong argument that it's either both or their thing, but the band tight, that's on us. That's my opinion.
But the flip side of that is, I mean, how often have you heard of Coltrane and Monk at the 5 spot or whatever all month long?
Yeah.
Ornette Coleman, the greatest thing, you know, that hit town. He's here all month.
Yeah.
They create a international buzz over it.
Yeah.
Now, is this a PR stunt? I don't know. It's just not happened today, but it put those people on the map. You know, Ornette Coleman, you wouldn't know his name today. Maybe you don't. But
I know exactly who he is.
Yeah, you know,
he
but
was with Charlie Hayden, right?
No, Ornette Coleman is just he was.
What was the guy with Charlie Hayden that did the weird, the really out there? I'm getting my names mixed up.
Well,
irrelevant. Yeah, it's
irrelevant.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'll think of it, but I'm just thinking of Ornette Coleman. He's a 1950s and 60s alto saxophonist, and he had kind of, you know, he went kind of more free form, less chords and just melody. But all of a sudden, he was just an international sensation. But a one-off gig wouldn't have got him there.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
He moved into a club, and the whole freaking town of New York went to see him.
Yeah.
And you know, that's just what happened.
Yeah, I'd wonder if we could do that today, how it would be different. I mean, something would be different. You know, the scene would be different if we were able to do that at least a couple of clubs. You know. Yeah. So, when you were running your band, what was a thing that didn't work about it, or that was really tough about being the leader, especially?
Yeah, you know, it's tough to be a band leader, but it's what I wanted to do, and I'm glad I did it. But it is tough. You know, I always tell people it's tough to get 5 guys in a room. Period. Just to get them in a room, you're already like doing pretty good. Now to get them sort of on the same page, that's like the next level. And to make them really, you know, want to work on your material when they are in 3 or 4 other bands, that's tough. I never really wanted to make demands on my players. I thought it would just confuse them. So I just really let them be themselves. I don't think you're going to order too many musicians around and crack the whip. That's just not going to work. So I kind of just let it all sort of flow. I hated when they couldn't make gigs and I'd have to get subs. I mean, subs never hardly work.
Yeah.
The exception would be John Wirt, who's a really fine guitarist.
Oh, yeah.
He did work, and I ended up putting him in the band. He worked so well, and I ended up writing tunes just for him. And going back to writing and composing, you know, just to finish up on that, we didn't get that far into it. You know, I think the best writing comes when you're inspired. A new guy's in the band. You got a new girlfriend, or just things like that.
Yeah.
The writing just flows. It just flies in the window, and it's just there. You know, in other words, there's a reason you're writing. You're not just writing. You're inspired. You're inspired to write, and it's not even hard.
Yeah.
You know, the minute John joined our band, he was like, I just had, wrote one of my best compositions, and it was just, I was going to write a tune just kind of about the vibe of John Wirt.
Yeah.
And I wrote One Begins to Wonder, which is one of my better compositions in my estimation, and it was the title of our third album.
Yeah.
One Begins to Wonder. It was just him, and he just shined so well on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
To write for a guy.
Yeah, and I felt that way with the dudes when we, towards the end, when I had Brad there, and then DeAndre Manning came in, and he's just as good as funk as Brad is, and I'm like, okay, I'm an idiot to not do some funk right now. And I was kind of inspired in that way, because I'm like, I have these two like monsters at funk, and so even though I wasn't writing, I changed my mentality and I got a little bit of inspiration there, and I'm like, okay, we don't need to change to a funk band, but we definitely need to start like moving in a little bit of that direction, because these guys are way too good at this, you know, and John was probably the same way, where he had some talents, but also just the inspiration of, you were talking about getting 5 guys in a room at the same time. I mean, we're not working, a lot of times, we're not working with Masterpiece Theater in regards to like flakiness and stuff like that with people. I mean, we're like 50-year-old children, right? I mean, musicians, I mean, I'm joking, but sometimes we're nutcases. We're all nutcases.
Well, another thing about John, when he joined the band, and at the end, our last half a year, whatever, he just brought a higher level of work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
He shedded the tunes. He brought in tunes. He showed up. I mean, we played a tune by Pat Metheny called "Follow Me." Played it at Jardines, and I hear the tape of it now. It's like, wow, that was like a one-off take.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, he just killed it.
Mm-hmm. He was ready.
He was just, and this is a tune with ding, 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 ding harmonics. That's the melody. He's got to play it harmonics at a noisy, crazy jazz club, and he just sounded great. And our game just raised, and not a ton, but just that little bit, which is all you need.
Mm-hmm.
We were already here, but we got that over the top, which we had some good moments with him.
Yeah,
some good moments.
That's always awesome when you have people that do have that work ethic, and then you come in and you're just like,
they're stoked.
Oh wait, he like knows the tunes.
Yeah.
We need to rehearse, but not really. He's like got them already. You're just like, I don't understand. You're sitting there like, wait, this isn't supposed to happen. Like this is how it's supposed to work. I'm supposed to have these moments before rehearsal happens where I'm like, okay, man, we have to rehearse this, and there's no way they'll be ready for that, and then when you get to rehearsal, you're like, oh wait, like I don't have to worry. No, but I need to worry. I mean, I'm so used to worrying.
But then there's the whole argument: does rehearsal even work? Does it even help? Sometimes, I've gone back and forth. Yeah. I'm never sure if it does. And I know one thing: rehearsing the night before a gig doesn't work.
Oh, that definitely doesn't work.
In fact, when I have an important gig, I don't touch the piano for 2 days before the gig.
Wow.
And I play way better.
Oh, that's
way better.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I've seen guys sitting there shedding an hour before the gig. Man, no, I could never do that.
I'm a big fan of being warm. So I'm a big fan of not playing your song like when you have like a classical competition or something. I'm a big fan of not playing your competition piece that day, because you're not going to get any better.
No.
You're not going, or you could get worse.
This stuff's so funny.
I know.
All this musician lore.
I know.
It's so funny.
But I am a big fan of you don't want to be sloppy. So I'm a big fan of like playing that day. You need to warm up, but I would probably not warm up on that piece. Don't play your piece. It's gonna be what it is, but you can definitely impact how warm you are.
Yeah.
Like in the sense that, have I played at all this week?
Oh sure.
You
gotta be warmed up.
That can hugely impact. But
and then there's always that subject of you think this tune's gonna really knock them dead, and it just don't. And then this other tune that's like barely on the radar, we just killed it. They loved it.
Right.
That is always so humorous to me. You never know what tunes are gonna fly.
Well, the one that you told me one time that was really funny is that you were like, okay, so I sit here and I've made the greatest set list imaginable by a man, and you're like, oh, dude, we have our ballad, and then we get this, and and then you get there and there's like 6 people, in the audience, and you and I are maybe very similar, where it's like, I have like stressed really bad about this, like not lose sleep, but pretty close. You know, I mean, you stress, and then and then again, this is back to the artsy side. You know, oh man, and then I lay this one chord on him. Oh, dude, it's gonna be so cool. You know, and then you get there, and they're like talking. You know, like, and so it's like that. That's where that's the best argument that I've been able to hear to come this way writing. I mean, that's the best argument because you're like stressing, but at the same time, all of us have felt that way of the performing monkey. You know, I mean, we've all felt that way, and it's this dichotomy that everybody has to kind of decide what you're willing to do. You know, I mean, is there an answer? I don't know if there's an answer to that.
You know, and many musicians in this town go, well, I just gave up many years ago.
Yeah.
I don't go with that philosophy. I don't think you give up. You always are pushing for your art, even if there's one person and that's it. I think you still, on some level, have to be true to yourself. You don't just go, well, I don't care if anyone listens. I don't care if anyone comes. I don't care. I'm just going to go through the motions, get my $80 and go home.
Yeah.
I think that's just a deadly vibe for me. And, you know, I can't speak for others, but I don't like to hear that. That's just uber cynical.
How many people have that in town?
Oh,
more than 5.
Oh man,
it's more than you'd think. You
and
know?
I understand the giving up. You know, sure. I mean, in every endeavor in life, there is that point of giving up. But I think if you're in the arts, don't even be in the arts if you've given up.
Yeah.
You know, just don't be in the arts. I mean, I just think we need to always, the art people and the art worlds, all of them, need to always be pushing humanity towards enlightenment, not towards the gutter and the sewer. And I think our entertainment culture really is going the wrong way. You know, I really do. You know, because all they do, they just care about what's mass marketing. What is mass marketable here? Do I have something mass marketable? If not, we're not going to market it. You know, if the Yellow Jackets don't sell so many albums, they are gone, and we're going to keep their masters. You know, and they're going to have to hunt for a label for 3 years. You know, no matter they've toured the world for 35 years and blown everyone away, they're not selling enough numbers. Bye. You know.
Yeah, that's tough, man. It's a tough situation. Last thing on this is you were talking about the idea of the kind of mentality of the musicians here in regards to the hired guns, where you are definitely a band. I think Lonnie is an example of this, where he is the headliner, right? He has a huge amount of fans. He's the boss, and then he hires dudes, you know, and he has hired guns, and that system for him is great, you know, because he doesn't need help bringing people. He doesn't need help, you know, he doesn't need help with a lot of stuff. He's been here like 40 years or whatever of now in my band, I needed it to be a little bit more like family style. I ran it like Lonnie, but I kind of actually wanted it more family style, and not even wanted it, but I needed it more because I couldn't bring people to shows. I didn't know anybody, you know, and definitely like loading equipment in and stuff like that. You know, I thought I wanted to be the dictator, but really I wanted more family style. And I've noticed a lot of people, one of the problems with the band that I ran was that it's almost like, and a couple people have said this to me, they're like, you might try next time to not get the best musicians of all time in your band, and not get, and what they're meaning by that is that all of these other guys are needed in town, right? You know, these guys are being asked to play in all these bands, and so it's just inevitable that they have to kind of split their emotion a little bit with it. They can't put yours on priority just because they're in 3 bands, and the other bands have already been going 4 years and they're already bigger, and so even if mine is more of an artsy, like more fun for them a little bit, it's still always going to be back burner, and that's really tough because all of us are at this point where we don't want to take our day job. None of us want a day job. We want to just sit here and write music all day, or sit here and play gigs all day, and like that's just tough with our scene, because if you're in 3 bands, you can get like 12 gigs a month if you are in the right bands and you're hustling, and that's cool. That's not maybe a complete living, but that's like that's a fifth or a half of your income if you try really hard. So I mean, I don't know what the solution is for that, because it seems like our whole scene is like that. Everybody has to be in 3 bands to make it, you know?
It is a tough one, and I was like you. I wanted to have this tight band that was just chomping at the bit to play this set list, you know, and that's the idealist in me, which is, you know, can be a little foolish. But the real world brought me back down to earth, you know. But I still think you got to hold on to some parts of your ideals, and just maybe try again another time,
Yeah.
or with another batch. I mean,
Yeah.
even the greatest players we know, you know, they had a lot of missteps along the way. They didn't just arrive in one day.
It's a journey. Yeah.
It's a journey, and you go through things, and you learn little things with each one. What would you do? And I think it's just not easy, and a lot of times there's not time to find just the right guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to go with what you got.
Yeah.
You know, it's never going to be, no business on the planet is just going to be, you know, a smooth cookie cutter
Sure.
thing. It's just,
You said to me right when I think that that you left the band, you said, I would suggest you go look for some hungry dudes. And
Hungry
that's
young
and that's
dudes.
that's what you were talking
Hungry
about.
young dudes.
And this is sort of what I guess I'm talking about, where these guys weren't really that hungry,
No.
because everybody's calling them already.
Yeah.
You know, everybody knows who they are. They're complete badasses, and they aren't hungry for anything, because
No.
it's not that they're giving it, but they know they're good. They know that they can go play any gigs with anybody, and
Yeah.
like
they'll take your $80.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't turn down my gigs,
Mm-hmm.
because again, we all have to just take gigs all the time. But that was a great piece of advice, that your project's gonna work when you get hungry people.
Well, I may sound a little cynical about some of my experiences in Killer, but I will say, once we hit the downbeat, everybody was in.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree with that.
You know,
yeah.
now I wish they would be in even more than that, but you know, maybe I'm asking too much, because when we hit the downbeat, they delivered.
Yeah,
More
that's
often
great.
than not. Maybe
great.
once in a while they weren't quite up to it, because I threw a lot of material at them. We never played the same set list twice in, you know, the 8 years we were together. I mean, I was always new material. We were always just pushing it, trying to find this pristine, gorgeous set list that just you know, captivated the room. You know, and you know, maybe that sounds a little Pollyanna-ish, but that was, you know, that's the artist in me.
Yeah.
You know, we're idealists. We're looking for that sublime moment.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah.
So just a couple more things here. You have had another little part of your life here that you've been starting to dance a little bit. Talk about the dancing stuff that you started.
Yeah,
to
I've
do.
joined the dance scene, and it's a huge scene. So I'm not in all the scene. I'm in facets of the scene, and you know, I'm a newbie, only 2.5 years into it, but I've really dug it. You know, and I can't believe I've hung in there. Because that first year is pretty rough when you're dancing with people who've been doing it 30 years.
Sure.
You know, so, but what I found is,
Your 3 left feet.
yeah. Well, what I found is most of the people in the dance scene are really nice, and even if they've been dancing 30 years, they say, "Come on."
Yeah.
You know,
That's
it's a beautiful feeling. You know, I've got a lot to learn, but yeah, every weekend, well, you know, 4 or 5 nights a week, not just weekends. You know, it's made up of country dancing, and the newest craze that's just going crazy all across the nation is West Coast swing,
Sure.
which was a dance. You know, it's got many. The genesis of it is a little vague. We like to say it was invented by drunken sailors coming back from World War II. But there's other theories of how. But it's a dance done in a slot, and you and the partner kind of stay in this slot. But there's a group in this town that has just taken it to another level. I mean, they're making the old fogies look twice as like, what are you doing? You know, because they're almost turning it into ballet.
Yeah, that's
You know,
great.
it's amazing. It's called West Coast Swing. When I see a single guy who doesn't maybe have a date Friday, I say, take up West Coast Swing. And in 1 year, you will have a book full of people you know that you like and you hang with.
Yeah, that's
You know?
cool, man. You were talking something interesting right before we started about how the dancing has changed your perspective on music.
It has.
Right?
Because growing up, I'd read about all these classical composers. Oh, Ravel's gonna write a ballet. Stravinsky's gonna write a ballet. I'm going, I love his music. Why are we talking about ballet? You know,
Right.
I just was too immature to understand that, you know, they work hand in hand, you know? And the latest sort of vibe in West Coast swing is, don't think about patterns so much as dance the music. let the music inform what you do. So it's kind of cool how I've just kind of had to look at a whole nother way that all the great classical composers, of course, they all, it was all about the dance. Vienna waltzes and,
Right.
all of it. I mean, ballet and waltz and all of it was about dancing.
Because in classical, the gavotte, minuet,
Yeah.
bourrée,
Yeah.
like all these songs we played, they're dances.
They're dances.
And
Yeah.
we think we're in this tunnel vision of
Yeah.
the stupid notes and the rhythms
Yeah.
and stuff, but actually they were sitting at some rich party, and then what are these people doing? Well, they're standing there dancing,
Yeah.
and
So, many years ago, I would have thumbed my nose at the dance scene. I was a musician. Dancing, that's beneath me. But I've learned the hard way, it's not beneath me.
Yeah.
It's great.
That's cool.
And it has many intangible benefits, and I can't even say what they are. You just feel better.
Yeah.
You move the blood and the lymph.
Yeah.
You're socializing. You get that female yin energy in your life, It's uplifting.
Yeah, that's great, man.
They want to be there. Here's another aspect I like about it. Men and women need each other in dancing. Whereas in our society, we're always tearing each other apart. In dancing, you need each other. They need you.
Yeah.
They want you to show up. They want to know if you will be there Friday because they want to dance with you.
Yeah.
It's a cool feeling.
Right,
It's a
yeah.
positive vibe.
Yeah.
I needed that at this time in life.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah.
Two more here for you. I know we've kind of touched on kind of, words of wisdom or whatever, but I'm always fascinated because I'm kind of in this mold of the 20 to 30ish year olds that are just starting this kind of journey into gigging. Not kids necessarily. So I'm not talking about like kids learning music or whatever, but do you have any like general advice for kind of younger people, even like myself, that are getting into this gigging professional world?
The music world?
Yeah.
Just
like gigging and booking a band or being in a band or.
Well, I never thought I would talk in these terms, but if I was going to give a young guy or girl who's interested in music now advice, as much as this goes against really what I am, I think there's an easier way to do it than I did it. And I think the easier way is to sort of, I even bristle that I'm saying this, but it's just an easier path. And that is, you kind of stay within sort of the music hierarchy world and get all you can out of it before you reject it and go your own way. Meaning, go as high in education and making contacts in this sort of establishment. I hate to even use that word because I'm so anti-establishment. But I mean, if you can go to Harvard, go to Harvard.
Yeah.
Why? Contacts.
Yeah.
You will make worldwide contacts. So don't poo-poo our institutions until you've gotten everything out of them that you can. In other words, don't poo-poo them too early. Because then you're just going to be a lone wolf sort of flapping in the breeze, angry and broke.
Yeah.
Don't poo-poo that scholarship or that teacher that says, really, you need to go here and do this.
Yeah.
Pay your dues up to a point. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but if looking back, there's just an easier way to do it. Get on the kind of the gravy train and get all you can out of it.
Yeah.
And then find your own way later. Don't poo-poo it too early or they will poo-poo you back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what I got out of what you just said is as a teacher, I'm watching some of these guys, like for example, you mentioned that I was too good for, or you had this mentality that I'm too good for the dancing, that's beneath me, right? And I know I felt that way about many things, especially in college, about like being in a cover band, for example. And then I'll go out and watch some people like Dave Hayes, and they've got like a 300 song songbook in their head ready to go.
Yeah.
And maybe he's not doing classical concertos in regards to technique, but that's like a huge skill. And I poo-pooed that, at first, and I was like, oh, these cover tunes and this country music, et cetera, is beneath me. And then now that I've been sort of in the establishment, I have a lot more respect, and not just respect, but I've learned a lot from that establishment. Is that kind of sort of what you're talking about, I guess?
Yeah, you don't want to let too much pride get in the way.
Yes.
You want to stay humble. And the great musicians, Chick Corea, Pat Metheny, you name any name you want, John Coltrane, The bigger they get, the more humble they get. The more they know, really, the more they realize they don't know anything.
Oh, Jack. Yeah.
Because it's just so good to stay humble, because then life's easy. You're not boxing shadows every time you turn around.
Yeah.
You know, you're not at war with yourself and the world, because hardly anybody wants to see a performer who's at war. They go there to feel serenity and joy. And joy is one of my favorite words. You know, at the end of the day, if you have joy, you win. Because so few people do.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah.
That's kind of the bottom line of everything. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
And the audience wants to feel your joy.
yeah,
You have to love the song you're playing. Love it.
yeah,
If you don't love it, maybe don't play it. I mean, because what's the point?
yeah,
You know? Which isn't to say you don't play a request, because that gives them joy. You know, it's a give and take.
yeah.
But at some point in the show, they got to feel your joy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my ex-wife used to say, well, I'd take her to some, you know, what she would think is kind of crazy concert. But she'd go, he just loves what he does.
Yeah, yeah.
He just loves what he does. She didn't know anything about music.
Right.
But she could feel
You could
his
tell.
love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know. The last thing I'll say on music stuff is that I remember saying that, hearing about this guy, and you were talking about the joy of listening to somebody. Somebody was saying to me one time that when they go to a concert, they're not there for homework. You know, and I was like, oh man, that, like, you know, that's you're killing my soul, because I'm wanting to write the 7/8 and this, you know, really difficult music. And he's like, I didn't come here for homework. You know, I'm here to drink. I'm here to talk to some chick. I'm here to, you know.
Yeah.
My problem is when I go to like bars, for example, the problem is that I always want to talk like philosophy and politics, right? And I want these conversations about deep-rooted, why are we doing this as a musician?
Yeah.
Like at 11:30 at night after 4 beers, that's exactly what I want to talk about, and nobody else does, you know? And I'm just weird like that, but that's maybe another good argument against playing this really intellectual music, because at a show, is this music to change the world in the sense of an intellectual sense, or is it joy? You know, and that's something that I need to always keep remembering, because like, what is our purpose in this bar right now? Not music, period, but in this bar, is this, you know, did they come here for homework? I hate that quote, because it annoys me so much, but I think it's 100% right.
But at the same time, I would rail against just playing 3-chord crap that's just loser music that doesn't lift up, that just sort of keeps us down in the gutter and gets you know, the whole alcohol thing is just a whole nother subject. You know, one time I was at a famous place that's in Kansas City, I won't mention the name, and I went to hear Dan Hicks and the Hot Licks, which is a great band I was into in the 70s. They kicked butt. But he got there, and you could just tell it was really just all about the beer.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, and I've even seen country concerts. Well, it's just all about the beer.
Right.
You know, to me, that rubs me the wrong way, too. To me, that's almost like too far the other way.
Yeah.
There's got to be, I don't know, I can't go completely in the gutter where it's just all about the beer.
Right.
You know?
And the doing the 3-chord songs is another moment where I think some people I've talked to in like the political realm have talked about like how young people today are the kind of music they're listening to is kind of that fake smile, fake happy crap. And that is not what you're talking about when you're talking about the word joy.
No, joy is a whole nother level.
It's a whole nother thing. And so I totally know what you mean, where that's, even though that's being accessible musically, but it's not fulfilling this need that people have. And like, I think that's, I know what you mean about, you know,
there has to be a spiritual quality in music.
Yeah.
Because we have a spiritual side, whether you want to say we do or not. We do.
That's the good music.
Yeah.
Is the
it has a spiritual side, whatever that means to you, it doesn't matter. But we don't want to always just feed our animal instincts only. Now, a little of that is fine, but when that's all you have in your music, it hits me cold.
Yeah.
And that's just me. I'm just speaking for me.
Right, yeah, I got you, man, yeah.
You know, it's not all about just rooting and dying. You know, I mean, we have to have some ideals. Like the great composers, they had ideals in their music. You know, they were trying to raise the let's say the frequency of humanity.
Yes.
Let's think larger here.
Right.
But those are lofty concepts. Not, we can't all have those. Those are mine. You can laugh if you want. It's just one of those deals.
That's awesome, man.
How I got them, who knows?
Yeah. Got anything else, man?
Well, how's our time?
How's our time? I don't know.
Yeah. Do you have anything else?
I don't know. Yeah, that I definitely love talking. The reason why I want to do this show again is I love having these conversations. It's like literally my favorite thing in life is to talk about stuff like this and what the whys and the how can we make it better and you're one of these people in town that have gotten to know that we've had many of these conversations, and I wanted to just like do that but just record it. And that's what the show is, because I think it's really worthy. And the big one that I talked about in a couple of our last interviews is the idea of the word cluelessness. And that's probably the thing that annoys me the most in music right now, and like from other musicians specifically, but the stuff like that when I see people that don't think about, they just kind of run their band and they don't think about any of this crap.
No,
and maybe they're happier.
They might be happy. Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss, but it really annoys me when I get on stage and the guy's like, he's like, and he's not even looking at the leader, he's just, just clueless about the moment, and then with band leading and writing and like, that just really drives me nuts. And I know you are more of a person that's kind of with me in at least thinking about these topics, and that's I think why we connected.
And what was the one thing I was going to say? And I hate to sound so cynical, and I've loved all the guys I've played with. I mean. But we're gonna.
Don't worry, you are.
we're gonna disagree on and I don't mind having a guy in the band that we disagree on stuff. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that because he'll be strong at that and I'll be strong at what I do. I don't like cookie cutter bands either. I think you need to have all kinds of people in your band and they all bring a sort of vibe. But that being said, I have been in bands where we'd sort of be 3 years into it and I just wondered, do these people even love music? And that sounds so arrogant for me to say that, because it sounds arrogant, but I'm just.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Why are they here? Okay, there's 100 reasons why they're here. I know why I'm here because I want this town, I want this tune to just shine. Yeah. Even if I don't play. Right. Maybe I don't even need to play on this tune for it to shine in it. And sometimes I do that. I just lay out. Yeah. And then when you come in, it's just so much more fun. And I'll give you one little other tip, just in passing. I don't want to end on the cynical note. A little tip that I believe in that I never was able to perfect, and maybe the young jazzers will, and maybe it won't even work for you, is rather than fill every bar, like let's say you're taking a solo, we're kind of taught to just do, and just keep playing. Every bar you're playing something. Something I did in the practice room that I never was able to perfect on the gig, I'd forget about it, is play something and then let some bars go by. Yeah. And then the next idea will be perfect. Yes. And if you let some bars go by, and then your next idea will sound like it was written by Richard Strauss. Yeah. It's amazing. Now, I'm not saying it works like clockwork. I'm just saying it's something to think about. Yeah. Let some bars go by. Don't fill every bar with your improvised solo. Yeah. It's just a little tip.
Our instruments are bad at that because we don't have to breathe. We can just kind of keep going and going and going and going.
But if you will let some bars go by, your ideas will make more sense. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying it as a guy who perfected it. I did not perfect it.
Yeah, I forget about that a lot.
But I forget about it.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll sound better.
Oh yeah. That's a great piece of advice, man.
So you get a little more from me on that.
Yeah. Well, So. That's basically our show.
Great interview.
This is Music Talk. Chris Lewis,
thanks you.
Thanks for coming,
Rob.
man.
You're the man.
We'll see you next time, and keep bringing music theater guys, writers, teachers, musicians, knuckleheads, everybody.
Beer drinkers.
Yeah, beer drinkers. 50-year-old children, that are actual they're adults technically, but But anyways, we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.